Hello and welcome everyone. Today is episode 22 with Safe Kids Central California. I am your friendly pediatrician, Dr. Hailey Nelson, and I am here to talk to you today about railroad safety. But before we get started, I wanted to do a little bit of show and tell. I'm super excited. So first off, as the ambassador for Safe Kids Central California and a pediatrician at Valley Children's Hospital, I actually entered into pageantry and I have some cool things to share. Dun, dun, dun. So first off, I have the official Dr. California America sash. So I am the reigning Dr. California America 2021. I recently competed in the Dr. America pageant. I took first runner up, and I am going to continue my reign as Dr. California for 2022. So there is going to be so much more work to do with this sash, but now I also have a little extra sparkle too. Oh, check this out. There we go. It's official. Crown, sash, ready to talk to you about safety things and be the fun pediatrician that I am, and bringing safety messages. And one of the things that also recently happened, besides getting some cool sparkle in the mail, was that Aetna awarded Safe Kids Central California and myself the Community Heart Award. So I wanted to show that off too, because I'm pretty proud of all the work that we've been doing. So here's our Aetna, here's my little George. So the fact that they sent their CEO here to Valley Children's to present this award and really thank us for the work that we're doing in our community. We love coming to you to bring these episodes and to really do our outreach. And I'm motivated and inspired, and there's so much more to come. Now, for today's topic, it's railroad safety. And we recently had like Railroad Awareness Week, and even just in getting prepared, I looked on my bookshelf this morning with my toddler and happened to find some books about trains. And let me tell you, like, kids like to hear about trains. So we've got this one here that goes through the different types of trains on the train track. Thomas, you gotta love Thomas, and you know, he's always up to things, and we have books that make the noises. So there's train things and train tables, but why train safety? So I'm inviting in my friend, Dr. Devireddy, who happens to be one of our pediatric residents here. So Dr. Devireddy, first, let's have you introduce yourself, and then you're gonna give us the why, because I want families to know a little bit about why do we have to talk about train safety?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. I'm Dr. Devireddy. I'm one of the interns at Valley Children's. I'm one of the residents here, and apparently it's very common that children, unfortunately, are harmed by trains. A child under the age of 19 dies every 5 days from a train accident or a train collision. And unfortunately, we had a fatality last year in Merced, which is really close to Fresno County. And unfortunately, it does happen a lot in Fresno.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have train tracks around here, but one child every 5 days, like that number blew me away. I wasn't quite prepared for it to be as high, and it's something that I didn't really think too much about. So I'm glad that we're here as pediatricians and talking about how families can protect themselves. So there's kind of the two different ways that this happens. First off is just with the collisions at crossings. So that would be when you're in your vehicle, you know, and the paying attention part and watching out for the trains. And then the other part is trespassing. So can you tell us a little bit more, like, what does it mean with the trespassing on railroad tracks?
So trespassing on a railroad track is basically walking or coming near the railroad when there's not an actual train coming, but it's an active railroad. That means trains do pass by there every day. So trespassing could be walking, sitting, standing, or doing anything like taking a picture near a live railroad track.
Right. I mean, and people like to take their pictures on train tracks. We see plenty of those for prom, for weddings. Like, that is a common spot, but that's actually a really dangerous spot to take your pictures. So if you get anything out of this, like, pick a different spot for your pictures, because unfortunately, once the train sees you, that it's already too late. So trains are large, they move fast, and it takes them a mile once they actually pull the brakes to stop. So a train moving at full speed, if they can see you, they cannot stop to prevent from hitting you. So it's your job to kind of get out of the way. Mm-hmm. One of the other things about the getting out of the way piece that I thought was really interesting is that trains are actually 3 feet wider on each side of that track. So if you are walking on the track and you think you hopped out of the way and you might be good, think again that that train is actually pretty wide compared to those tracks. So 3 additional feet on both sides is something else that we have to keep in mind, not only for, again, the fact that we don't want you to be trespassing, but even if you're driving your car. So it's pretty common to be like, okay, I think there's room, I can cross the tracks too before the thing comes down, you know, as you're trying to gauge that. And if you underestimate how big that train might be, your car might not actually get out of the way in time, which is a scary thing to think about too.
Mm-hmm. And you might think that you would hear the train before it comes, but a lot of trains these days have newer technology and they don't actually make the typical like chugga chugga choo choo sound that we normally think of, or the clickety clack, or normally they don't really blow their train horns unless they are coming near a crossing. So you might not hear it even if you think you are safe for the moment.
I love that piece of like trains are actually pretty quiet when they're moving fast, unlike what we see in cartoons and movies or our children's books that I have here with, like, this one has the different sounds that trains make. And so that clickety clack sound, you might not actually hear that train coming. And again, once you see it, it's already possibly too late for you. So being very careful when you're around trains. So I think we're covering some of the things that we love acronyms in medicine. We have the 5 S's when it comes to sleep. We have the S's when it comes to trains as well. So we've talked about sound. Let's see, we covered size and then stopping. So those are kind of the big things. And then the statistics. So that statistic of 1 child every 5 days. So please just use caution when you are driving your vehicle, or talk to your children so that they know, because teenagers are actually at the highest risk. So those teenage drivers or teens who might just be off for a walk and rambling, like, don't walk on the train tracks. Be careful when you're driving. Like, these are important messages to kind of share with our kids. All right, Dr. Devireddy, I know I have the cheat sheet here. You have it over there. I want to go over the railroad safety tips. So will you give us safety tip number 1? What do we want to share with our families?
So you want to know, first off, that you should only cross a train track where it is designated. So when you see signs that it is okay to cross the railroad track, you should only cross there, and you should make sure that there is no train coming by, and look both ways for sure.
All right. We're going to look both ways, cross in designated spots. All right, tip number 2 on our sheets, it says that if the lights are flashing, even if you don't see a train, to treat that like an active track. Like, you really just want to be careful. And I think sometimes you're like, oh, maybe it's faulty, I don't know, or I can get across. Like, don't risk it. You heard it here. Just go ahead and pause. And if you are a parent and you've got, you know, like, I'm driving around, I've got my toddler in the back seat, we're waiting because the train's going to be coming, so the lights are on, and you know you're going to be sitting there for a while. Like, I take that as an educational opportunity. Like, let's count how many cars we see, or what color, or, pick something that you can, sing a song with your child to pass that time, but know that you'd rather pass the time sitting comfortably in your car safely away from the tracks than to kind of risk danger for your family. All right, what is tip number 3 for us?
Tip number 3 is to allow enough space for your vehicle to completely cross the railroad tracks before you attempt to cross, and also allow enough time. Remember that trains are 3 feet wider than the actual tracks, so you want to make sure that you have enough time for the front and back of your vehicle to cross those tracks before you start crossing.
That 3 feet wide thing, that number to me is just crazy, how big some of those cargo freights are that are traveling on those tracks, so being careful there. All right, for tip number 4, if you are using a cell phone, that you want to be hands-free. Put your phone down, so eyes up. So this is distracted driving. We've talked with CHP before. We've had different episodes just on distracted driving in general. And so there are places where it matters. It really matters anytime you are in your vehicle, that you really want to be paying attention so that you don't get in an accident. The stakes are higher when you're by train tracks. And so there's just that risk, to be careful and be mindful when we're driving to really be paying attention. All right, and tip number 5.
Tip number 5 is, do not be tempted to walk along the train tracks or take pictures or sit by the train tracks or stand anywhere near a live railroad track. Just be careful when you're around there.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Dr. Devireddy, for going over the tips with me. I really appreciate it. We love having our residents here at Valley Children's and doing outreach with us. So I hope to have you back soon. We're going to be including in the link for today's video some additional railroad safety tips. And then we'll be back live next week. We've got additional shows planned, but for now, I just hope that everybody, you stay safe and be well.
Bye. Thank you for having me.